Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. How are we doing today? Let's get started. Let me just switch over here. Oh my god, this did not work. Oh, this did not work. Okay, well, there you go. That worked. Oh, perfect. It fixed itself. Hell yeah. There we go. I practiced this morning. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Rox. That's Infested. We are going to be talking some baseball with you. Hopefully every week or so. We've been talking some baseball. Me and Infested both really like baseball. Sadly, he likes the Yankees. So, I have to deal with that. I'm a Jays fan. If you guys haven't watched this stream at any point in the last, I think, year, you would know that. So basically, we're going to start off with a little bit about ourselves. So why don't you go first?
Okay. Am I coming through?
Are you coming through fine for me? How about you guys? Oh shit! Can people from chat hear you? Did I put? Hold on. Okay, now people, can you guys?
Can anyone hear me?
I think
All
they
right.
can hear you. I think they can hear. I mistakenly had you on mute.
Well, it's all right. I mean, me being a Yankee fan, I already had one person leave, so at least it's not Boston. So that's all I'll say.
I see.
We both have that mutual love for the Boston Red Sox,
Yeah.
But my name is Infestedvector, as everyone knows me on all nice streams. But my real name is actually Jonathan, and I am a sports fan, but a rabid baseball fan. I've loved it for my whole life. I like everything about it, so this is going to be exciting to do. Thank you.
Hell yeah, let's go. And coincidentally, everybody, I didn't find this out till recently. My name is also Jonathan, if you didn't know that. I go by Johnny mostly. So at the moment, we don't have a name for this podcast, but there are a lot of possibilities with that. I am also Rox, guys. I'm a huge baseball fan. Been following baseball, honestly, since I stopped being a diehard hockey fan. Because you grow up in Canada, you kind of have to love hockey. So I moved over to baseball, and around, I've been a baseball fan forever, but Die Hard became in about the year 2000. Mike's a little low to you. I will turn it up. Thank you very much. I am in a new place. Oh, shit, that's the wrong thing. I am in a new place, if you don't notice. I am at my aunt and uncle's house. For the first episode of this, it's going to look like super professional. So yeah. I am a baseball fan, and been a diehard fan since about 2002, 2003, and we're gonna chat, we're gonna talk, and the first thing on our docket today is the new rules in baseball. Those new rules, people have been talking about those new rules a lot. I know you guys in chat were messaging me about what I think of the new rules, the pitch clock especially. So which one do you think is the one we should get on first?
I think we should start with the pitch timer.
Pitch clock,
right?
That's
basically going to be the biggest shift. So
yeah. I heard a rumor. Opening day there were 15 games, and only 5 of them were over 3 hours. Now, to me, that seems really good.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. I'm gonna wait until at least the middle of April to see. We'll have enough games by then. We can get it like a pretty well set.
That's fair to me.
And I don't know if the Yankees play the Red Sox in the first couple weeks. I gotta double check. I'm being bad.
Those Sunday night, Friday night games. Those big. Honestly, tonight. Yeah. Actually, who's playing Sunday night baseball tonight?
Oh, you put me on the spot here.
I put you on the spot because I don't even know.
Let's see. We got. I don't know. I don't think. Is anyone actually playing today?
There should be. It's the first Sunday of the season.
Yeah, but that doesn't. The Phillies and the Rangers on ESPN.
Rangers. Okay. It's not, honestly, Sunday Night Baseball, because that's one of those games where they put 2 minute and 30 commercials. 2 minute 30 commercials, so the game's already taking longer in between innings. So we should see how that one is probably the first test of the year. But you're right. We need more numbers. We need more stats. Rangers, boo! Wiggles, boo! Though we will be talking about the Rangers later in the stream, and I might have some nice things to say. You never know. Okay, so the pitch clock, yeah, like I said, I think the pitch clock is going to be good for baseball. There are a bunch of things that people have been talking about, like how pitchers are going to deal with it. Um, uh, I was watching the Astros and the White Sox on opening day, and Dylan Cease, man, he's calling his own game. He was just bullhearted, like bulldogging through the game. And I think like the pitch clock is you're gonna see a lot more pitchers do what he did.
I, yeah, and and I think we'll see a generational thing here where you have the young players, they were used to it. I mean, a lot of the early young players, they were doing this in the minors for
Exactly.
a couple of years, so it's definitely. But also, you're gonna have the older umpires not used to calling it. They're learning something new. So the month of April is going to be interesting. How many mistakes happen? Like yesterday there was a mistake in the one game. It was the Mets and
The Jeff
who were they
McNeil
playing?
incident with Pete Alonso.
Yeah. So it was called, but it shouldn't have. So
According, so I read this website called I forget what it's called, the umpire website. They're
okay.
a little pro umpire. According to
no bias at all. No bias.
No bias at all. But it's a good website because they do explain why things are called. And when an umpire is an idiot, so Angel Hernandez being dumb, they're usually a little bit less biased. They're a little bit like umpire made a mistake. We admit it. So they do admit it when it's like egregious mistake. But according to them, that's a rule that should be called. But baseball's telling them don't call it.
Well, I think it's the tough thing is they just don't want they don't want
bullshit. It was a bullshit call, right? Like, come on, McNeil getting a strike.
I mean, that could have affected and later in the game, it's these players getting back. Now, maybe they'll start hustling back, and that's always been a big thing for people. It's like, why aren't you hustling?
Well, imagine
you're getting paid a lot of money to hustle.
Yo, welcome in, Flame. Welcome in, Talks. Welcome in, everybody, guys. Thank you for the resub, Sam. If you guys don't know, guys, me and my buddy Infested here are going to be doing a baseball podcast every week. I call it podcast, but it's going to be a show. I'm going to upload this as well to YouTube. I'm going to upload it in two forms. So you can see our lovely faces. And I'm also going to upload the audio itself with just my logo. So you guys can listen to it if you don't want to stream a video or if you can't be here. We don't know exactly what time we're going to do this every week. But today, our first day on Sunday, we figured it's a good time to get into the beginning of the season, talk some baseball, talk some rules. And I hope you guys enjoy. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to chat. We may not answer all the questions, especially at the beginning here, because we do have a list of things we want to get into. But feel free to chime in, especially when we're talking these baseball rules, because I want to hear your guys' opinion on this.
Yeah. And to add to that, I'll try to throw in a little fantasy baseball information because I play fantasy baseball. So, I mean, I know not everyone is as big of a nerd as me playing fantasy baseball, but it's always good to get that different viewpoint. I love it because it opens me up to players that I might have not paid attention to before. So,
okay, so that's my other thing on the pitch clock is I've been saying this. I've been saying this on stream. I've been saying this out offline. I've been saying this to anyone who will listen. Is that I personally think that the pitch clock will help those fielders that have those mental mistakes in the brain. So in any sport, we all know, like in not just baseball thing, in any sport, there's always those players that are just really good, but they're not the best mentally, right? Like they make these dumb errors. Like it's hockey, you pass the puck in front of the net. Like, why are you doing that?
So that's interesting. That's a measurable thing. I mean, we can see if errors go down across the league, even every month. So that'll be cool to keep track of. I like that thought process. I think you're onto something. I mean,
that'll be honestly that'll
be
something I always season we'll have to look at, right?
I always picture those, when you were a little kid, you're playing little league or whatever, you had. You're out there, picking and poking the bugs and all that, and the ball got hit, so I got to pay attention.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And like as a person who still plays, I can tell you if I'm in like I'm in a men's league where sometimes we walk a bunch of guys in a row. and the ball doesn't get hit out of the infield. And if I'm an outfielder and it's a hot day, I'm bored. Or the ball gets hit to the other field all the time, and I'm like, I don't get to do anything. I might not be paying attention. With the pitch clock in the majors, you expect them to obviously not be as... It's not a men's league, right?
So the actual rule is 15 seconds, bases empty,
Yes.
and 20 seconds runner on. So
Yes.
they're giving you an extra 5 whole seconds.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is,
I think that some pitchers, that's their whole windup is 5 seconds. So
you know what I should have done? I should have seen who was the slowest pitcher last year.
Yeah.
Who was this? I should have had a list of that. Who was the slowest pitcher? We could have seen how, like, are they? Because I know there was in spring training there was some talk with this guy who was literally taking all 20 seconds, all 15 seconds on the clock.
It's tough, but I think it's breaking that slowerness that you learn from the majors.
Exactly.
Because they're not this slow. If you watch, college baseball, they're not going this slow. College baseball is quick games.
Exactly. And then the minor leagues, they're getting the pitch clock. So honestly, in a few seasons, we might not even be worrying about the pitch clock. It'll be just obviously there'll be certain here and there there'll be violations, but like you said, it's gonna take some time to figure out if it's viable or not.
Well, I mean, a little of me wanted to start with the pitch timer because it's probably the easiest one for us to see it staying.
Yes.
The shift limits, I think that's going to be interesting. I mean, it's definitely going to help certain players that are pull hitters, because now you don't have to worry about the whole team being on one side. But like I've told you, I think a little of the shift rule is that the fielders, the infielders have to stay in the dirt. And I think what might come out of that is some ballparks might ask to increase the dirt size of their field, because in certain ballparks, you're a Toronto fan, that turf, that ball moves quick. So you want to have enough room to field that ball when it's hit off you. So
no, I honestly think that could potentially happen. Especially there are some fields out there that aren't the same size as each other, and I did see that there. I think that's also something going to happen for next season. That all fields might have to be the same size, all infields at least. I don't. I have to go find the article. And if I find the article, I'll post it in my Discord and post it on my Twitter. But there was an article out there on the Athletic, I think, that about infield sizes.
And, well, now I'm gonna, call me out. I'm not following your Twitter, so I'm gonna have to look that up. Let me write that in my notes so I can make sure I follow your Twitter and I don't,
Well, because like I said, I think you're right. Because they're either gonna make the same size infield mandatory. You have a hard time hearing. Well, let me just move a little closer. Is it better, guys? Hold on. What am I using the correct mic? I do apologize. I am in a different building than I usually am. No, my mic is the same. I'll turn my mic up all the way, guys. There you go. But I believe that their goal is to have every field uniform so that these rules make sense, right? That's my so if the Players Association or the teams do ask, hey, can we make it bigger, then every team should make it bigger, right?
I have mixed feelings of that, because one of the things that makes baseball from all the years is it's one of the only sports that the stadiums, the fields, I know people have the opposite issue with this, but they're unique. And we make fun of Boston, but one of the things is, without Fenway being as iconic of having that big green monster, it's something that you enjoy as a fan. You get to see, hey, you have home field advantage. So
but also, like you said, like the uniqueness. I'm actually happy to see when I go finally see the Sky Dome this season, because it's finally not. I think it was one of the last symmetrical parks in baseball. I think it's still symmetrical in its own way, but it's no longer like the exact same down the line, the exact same to right and left center, 400 to center. 400 to center field. It's now has your own unique style, and I fully agree with you. Ballparks being unique was one of the draws for baseball to me. Go Yanks, let's go. Well, my buddy over here is a Yankees fan, so you're good.
I will say it would be interesting how teams adapt. I mean, there was already a team that moved some outfielders over
Yes,
still.
that's the rule. You
Um,
can do that, right?
yeah, so how they do that, and I feel at that point, I mean, look, I'm all for trying to keep the game, flowing and going, and the shift definitely you saw it. There was
Yes.
players, there was players that had a shorter career because of these changes. Now,
100%.
but I also at a certain time, like if you have the whole left field open and you can't get a hit into that left field, then you deserve to get it out. I mean,
Oh, I totally missed the Expos as well. We were actually talking about that. It's another topic of us where we're really hoping to get some more Canadian teams in baseball. Bring back the Expos, guys.
yeah, that team was really good at finding players that
Oh my god.
you know.
Also, great jerseys. Great jerseys. That just.
Well, maybe.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry here, Infest. I'm sorry here, but the black and white stripes.
Listen. You can dog on the Yankees jersey all you want, but look at this. If I owned a Brett Gardner jersey, now I own an Anthony Volpe jersey. So
Okay, that's fair.
I don't have to worry about the last name. They're interchangeable. Obviously, if someone gets retired, then it is what it is. But
yes, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I doubt anyone will have 99 after his career's over.
Yes,
That's
he is. If he continues the same way he's going, he is going. I'm gonna take this question before we go on to the last rule. Is expansion ever likely? Because I think that's actually a good question for us. I know it's not about rules, but I think it's a good question.
No. I mean, I hope so. I feel like there's a lot of room for more teams. There's more money in the league. There's as population grows in other cities, you got fans all over. I still feel there's room. Like I said, in Canada, there's a couple cities I'd love to see that.
Yes.
I feel if they can do an indoor facility, Las Vegas is prime for a team because
Oakland
that stadium or whatever they play will always be packed. It doesn't necessarily mean they're all their fans, but that's not always the case. You want people to go and enjoy the game. I think maybe like one of the like Puerto Rico could possibly have a team, or Mexico City.
I think they have a AAA team in Mexico City right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I know they're playing some games there. I don't know.
Playing some games there, yeah.
And it's definitely similar to like the Colorado Rockies, where it's a high elevation, so there's different things that affect
the humidors or whatever, but they deaden the balls and stuff. But yeah,
yep.
Like I also think that at the moment, the first thing that's going to happen is teams are going to move. The two teams most likely are Oakland and the Tampa Bay Rays.
I don't.
Buddy, hold on. Sorry, my buddy. No, get out of there. Sorry, it's in the
garbage. Oakland, I can see. Unless they get a new stadium. If they manage to get a better stadium, I think they'll have a better chance of bringing the fans in again.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Who knows? Tampa. I mean, they're probably going to move because it's hard for them to operate long term. Yeah. But they have a pretty strong following on the locals, but they just not enough of them. And if you're familiar with the Tampa area, they're not in Tampa.
Yeah.
They're in St. Pete, which is actually very hard to get to if you're in Tampa at certain times of day. So
you took the words right out of my mouth there. Exactly. They're in a horrible location. So I've talked to Tampa fans who are like, I don't even want to go to the game. I just rather watch on TV because when any of the teams I want to watch are in town, their fans can go to the game. Yankee fans go. Like
and that same thing happened across the state with Miami. When they moved that stadium, they moved it from where they drew the most fans.
Yes.
They moved it to an area that they could build, but they didn't have the same draw of fans. Yeah. So it hurt. It hurt.
Exactly. All right. So the last rule, it's not really a new rule, but it's a rule that's now been put in place. And that is the extra inning runner rule. Now,
Well, the bigger bases.
also the bigger bases. I forgot about I actually forgot about the bigger bases. I just consider that's a quality of player health rule.
Okay.
So I think anyone bigger bases is going to make players healthier.
But you had a point, and when when I was talking to you about my fantasy league,
Yes.
I've already seen it. There's already players with three or four stolen bases already,
Yes.
and we've only had 3 or 4 games.
Three games.
So
yeah.
we could see that increase because it's just a little easier to.
Look how smart we are. We didn't even during the pitch clock, and we forgot the pickoff rule. The pickoff rule as well, where you can only pick off twice.
Yeah.
And I forget what game I was watching where the pitcher threw over to first base, and the player was on first base. I think it might have been the Yankee game.
It was. I remember saying that. I was like, why did they throw over?
Yeah, Webb threw over, and that was his second pickoff attempt.
And I was watching that because that was the rookie. That was Anthony Volpe.
Yeah.
And I've been watching because, the way he steals is he takes a jump.
Yeah.
So he doesn't actually take a big lead off, but he probably needed a breather. So what's going to happen is you're going to probably see more pickoffs like that because that's a legitimate way of resetting that clock.
That's true.
So you wait as long, you do it, you reset it. That's a loophole. So, so you can get an extra 15 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. But again, like you said, with the bigger bases, it's a tiny bit smaller. Like it's a little bit closer. So like I don't think it affects you that much in getting closer to the bag, but it means that there's more bag for you to grab onto. If you've been practicing with these bases for all of spring training, like you should know the size of the bag. If you're a base dealer, like I don't know, you probably slid into this bag with no one around trying to find out how to grab onto the bag, right? So you know how big it is, you know where you can grab in a game situation.
I mean, it's 3 inches. It's from 15 to 18 inches. 3 inches on both sides. I know that's not but in those bang bang plays,
it's huge.
There may not be as many. I'm curious if catchers will have less pickoffs, less caught stealings because
I'm thinking they're gonna have a lot more back picks.
Okay.
Because pitchers can't throw over, so why can't catchers throw over to first base?
But you better have a good first baseman. Not every first baseman knows how to do that well. So
exactly. I am currently not at my actual abode. We are in this professional office for our professional podcast, right, Infested? He's sitting on the field at Yankee Stadium.
I'm right down on the field. The Yankees just won. The Yankees just finished their game and won, so I'm out here.
There you go. Oh, so it was perfect timing. They finished the game. And then they gave you the field, and I'm sitting in an office. We're professionals. Yeah. So the base is one. What's next? What's the next rule? I'm blanking here.
Oh, no, I interrupted. It was the player on second. They made it permanent now instead of testing. So
still, I don't. Okay. So I love this rule. I absolutely love this rule for runs. Oh my god. I love this rule because of runs. If you're watching baseball and you watch extra inning games, you guys pre-COVID, you guys know that extra inning games, they were fun and enjoyable. Walk-off home runs were great. But sometimes in the 13th inning after guys have just went up and down, 4 different pitchers used, I got kind of boring. In 2020, I literally watched every extra inning game I could. Because 2 runs were scoring. Then the home team was scoring runs, even if they lost. Like, it was runs on runs.
It definitely it had a possibility of cheapening the rest of the game.
Yes.
If they tied and went into extra innings, because it's a whole different way. It's a whole different experience.
Well, it also takes away home field advantage. The biggest downside to it is it takes away the home field advantage. Which is my only negative aspect with it, is that they started in the 10th inning. As a home team fan, if I'm at a game and it's a Wednesday night, I don't like to leave games. But if I had to go to work, with the quicker games, I got more time. But if I got to go to work, I'd rather see my team try for 2 more innings because the game was only 2 hours and 20 minutes to the 9th inning. 2 more innings with no one on second. Then in the 13th inning or 12th inning, boom. We got an extra inning runner. And if my team loses, well, we tried. The home field advantage doesn't matter after 12 innings to me anymore. But like in the 10th inning, it's like, bro, what if you tie that game in the bottom of the ninth? Then you got to have a runner on second base to start the next inning.
I personally have a love-hate relationship with this rule because, you know, you there's good times and bad times when you're a team fan.
Exactly.
And a little of me is like, we're changing the nature of what the game is, and I realized it's hard because, you know, there wasn't a lot of hits happening, but I feel like if you're going to change this shift rule and you're going to put the bases differently and you're going to do some of the stuff that may increase hitting, then why don't we see if that actually decreases the amount of extra inning games, or, you know, the amount of extra inning games that go past like 12 or something like that, you know?
Exactly.
I have a hard time because they're doing, you know, I don't know. They're going to do it in the playoffs now too, correct?
No. That was a
okay.
I have that is a question for when the playoffs start. Is if they should be bringing this in the playoffs because it's in the regular season, not in the 10th inning though. At least maybe do a 12th inning in the playoffs. But if are they going to have the pitch clock in the playoffs? The bigger bases are going to be in the playoffs. The shift rule is going to be in the playoffs.
I'm a strong believer if you're doing it in the regular season, you should do it. However, the extra runner rule, that's a little harder because it's you're like giving something to a team already.
And for me personally, the playoffs, I don't want so I play a game called Upper Baseball and I run a universe. In my personal universe, I run the extra inning rule. I don't run the extra inning rule during the playoffs.
Okay.
I can't. Because I feel it would hurt so much to tie a game after 9 innings, and then be told, okay, here's a runner on second base, and give up a run right away. That would suck in a playoff game. It would suck in a regular season game, but to me it sucks less because I like runs. In the playoffs, I only want runs from my team, so like I do get that. I don't think that rule's in the playoffs. I don't think it'll ever be in the playoffs personally. But yeah, we are. Sorry for the little bit of volume issues, Cloud. These will be corrected for next week.
I just did a spot check. I thought it sounded good, but we'll see. I guess when you view the recording.
I'm not used to being able to talk so loud as well. I'm usually in a little bit of a corner, so my sound reverberates off of walls. I'm in a little bigger place, so. But yeah, like I said, honestly, I think that's the one rule that is the most, like Vaconathan says in chat, it's one of the most fascinating additions. I do agree. I just wish they pushed it back an inning or two, like minimum 1 inning. Give me 10 innings of no extra runner baseball. Just 10 innings, and then I'd be happy. Like when the rule first came out, I was pushing for give me 12 innings of real baseball, of like normal baseball. But with the like you said, with the pitch clock, with all these other rules making the games go faster, push this rule backwards.
Yeah, I don't see them doing it now that they voted on it, but maybe. I mean, it might be a revisit. I will say baseball's trying to be a little more agile lately. Yes. So we'll see.
Like maybe not this season, but maybe next season we'll see a change to it.
I mean, the worst idea was when they made the All-Star game mean something, you know. But they were trying it. I wasn't faulting them for it. I
like watching old baseball games. You guys will hear me talk about this in the off season. I have a whole list of games, especially if you're a new baseball fan and want to watch a game that's like that has everything in it, including a surprise pitching appearance. And I just watched the 2011 game the day after the first game back from the All-Star break in 2011, when Jose Bautista, if you guys all remember, slid into the wall to make a catch with David Robertson on the mound during the All-Star game because it meant something, and then he twists his ankle during that game and only hits 12 more homers because he had 31 at the time. He ended up with only 42 that season. So it was like, bruh, like he hurt his ankle, and that's one of his. That's one of his because the All Star game meant something. Plus, also he's playing third base, so it
Yeah.
wasn't the totally the All Star game's fault. But he wouldn't have slid to the wall if it didn't mean anything, right?
Yeah, and I mean, baseball's such a long season, so having that All-Star break is important.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe we'll see. You know, because some of the other sports are starting to make it so it's not a game, or it's a different type of game. So maybe we'll see. You know, slow pitch softball or something eventually, or something instead of an actual All-Star game. But who knows?
I kind of like how they're doing it now. Like, I know it doesn't mean anything anymore. I kind of like how they're doing it now. It's kind of more of like a fun affair. Pitchers play if they want to. Players play it. You know what I mean? Like Alec Manoah last season. Like, man, I know people didn't really know who Alec Manoah was, but during the All Star game, everybody, man, this guy was calling his pitches, striking people out on voice while chatting away to the broadcasters. Like,
I do. Well, so they started doing that a little in games too. So you know where you're mic'd up.
oh, Alex Bregman opening day.
Yeah.
On
So I mean, that's a way to get that fan,
mm-hmm.
that fan integration there, because you want them to be excited, because you have exciting people. You know, I'm going to be biased on this, but I'm a Yankees fan, and you know, there's certain players that I love hearing for. But every team will have that. They'll have those fun players, and those players that have that, you know, they have that personality that you want to try to make them, you know, more of a star, because you know, baseball's such a team sport that we don't really always single it out.
Well, yeah, so. And also see the people as individuals themselves. We like as a person myself, I want to cheer for the team. Like I made the point when you remember the former Jays catcher JP Arancibia. Yeah, so JP Arancibia was not a very good baseball player. He was a very, very, very nice human at one point in time. I don't like him as a human anymore, but that's for a whole other issue. But when I met him, I spoke to him, and he spoke to a bunch of other people I liked. Like, he was a very nice man, and I've never had any interactions that can change that. But he was not very good at baseball. But so when he would hit a home run, and people were like, "Why are you cheering for him?" I'm like, because he plays for the Toronto Blue Jays. He just hit a home run for us. I'm gonna cheer. I don't have to like him to cheer for him.
So it's a little different being a New Yorker and a New York Yankee fan. That's not always the case for the fan base or myself, you know. But I try to take a step back and be like, oh, that's that. You know, you can do your best you can. You know, like I feel bad about certain players, you know, that have gone through and didn't do well in New York or for any reason, you know. But you know, I always hope that they come out to another place, like Sonny Gray. You know you know that he rebounded somewhere else. Sometimes you just can't play, you know, in a different situation. So
exactly. Understatement of the day, right? Exactly. I agree. Like I said, and that's why I really like chatting with Infested. And that's why that's one of the reasons why we started this. Like because I think that even though he's a Yankees fan, I'm a Jays fan, we can get along very well, but we also like the sport of baseball a lot. And I think the sport of baseball, I enjoy it. Even if my team is not doing well, I still enjoy baseball.
And I want to see it grow.
Exactly.
It hurts me, you know, when my stepkids decided they don't want to play baseball anymore. I see the effects of not having that. They'll go to other sports that are more exciting sometimes. Exactly. And it hurt because, you know, I'd be like, oh, yeah, go play sports. You know, baseball, I can help you with that.
Exactly.
You know?
or we can talk about that because, like, I grew up talking to my dad about baseball. I still talk to my dad about baseball. So like it's a good thing to I think these rules overall are a positive for the game. Maybe they need to be adjusted down the line, but I think overall all the rules they're putting in right now are a positive for the game.
And the nice thing about baseball, it's very metric oriented, so we'll be able to see because there's 162 games and 30 teams. You know, there's a lot of information that you can figure out, you know, and see. You know, it might take a year or two to get like correlation, but it'd be interesting. Will we have more, stolen bases? Will we have more, hit, those simple, droop singles? Will batting averages go up?
Exactly.
I mean, I do expect batting averages to go up a little. But pitchers and fielders will adapt also. It's a give take here.
Like,
You make new
learning
rules,
experience, yeah.
you adapt. So
Yeah, it's a learning experience. So I think we've covered every rule, right? I think we believe we've covered every
yeah,
rule.
and more.
More, yeah, it's true.
So
All right, well, so the next thing I want to talk about, because this is our first episode, and even though the season is already started, the part of what I want to do for this podcast is make it kind of chill. There's a bunch of people in chat I know who are just learning baseball, new people who may not care about every little nitty gritty thing about the sport, and that's totally fine. Like, you don't need to be as crazy of a fan. You can also just like the sport. Yeah.
And we'll each try to get you to like our teams.
Yeah.
So
Well, we want to, like, I want to make this, as my friend mentioned to me, I want to make this something I want to listen to. And what I like to listen to is I want to know what's going on, what's cool, what's the best games to watch, and how teams did. Like, are teams playing well? So I don't have to follow things. Like, if I don't want to have to follow every game, well, don't worry. Me and Infested will most likely follow the season for you, and you can just pay attention to us when we tell you stuff. Trying to keep in mind, my dad and I love baseball, but he's really old school. Like, whoa. Well, now I gotta ask you. I want to look up your dad's baseball reference page if your dad played for Baltimore. What about cold weather teams hosting opening day without a dome? That is something. I don't think do they still do that? I know they have cold weather teams. They give the day off. So teams where there could be a rainout, like the Blue Jays played on Thursday, but there's no game on Friday. There's only 5 games on Friday because all the other series they have a day off in case there was a rainout. Nope, too personal. Fair enough, homie. Fair enough. I had to ask because that is goddamn cool though that your dad played for Baltimore back in the day.
I that's one thing. I mean, look, cold and hot weather, that as a longtime baseball fan and seeing that actually is part of the strategy. Pitchers do well in cold weather, pitchers do well in warm weather. It's how you hold that ball. I mean, you're a pitcher, so you understand grip. So it's sometimes hard to grip the ball in certain or even maybe you're gripping it too much in a humid area time. So
or how much especially in cold weather and the pitch clock. I honestly cannot wait now. Like, the season just started, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the colder months of the season with the pitch clock and the cold weather. And
or when it's raining,
yes,
because that those umpires are going to have to be the one that determines whether the pitch clock starts or not. And if they keep swapping out balls to try to get the driest ball on there, it can still slow it down. But look, there's 162 games that have to be played. You can't not play in certain conditions. That's just not possible. I mean, obviously, if it's a danger, then you cancel. You're not going out, but you have to get games in. That's enough. That's
Though I do think that any new stadium, like I've mostly seen the newer stadiums being built. Arizona, like not even Arizona, Seattle, Texas, they're all having roofs, retractable. Houston, they all have these retractable roofs so they can play in the rain, but they also mostly are outdoor stadiums. So I kind of like that. That's the way baseball's going. They're making baseball more accessible to the fans and less rainouts. Yeah,
but they're expensive, so it's always. I just looked up Toronto. I guess it costs $500 million to have that retractable roof.
Well,
so
that was also in 1989.
Yeah, so I don't know. The Diamondbacks.
Our roof apps, like, compared to other roofs, man, dude, you can close like every roof in baseball before the Sky Dome roof closes because our stadium is old.
I mean, I mean, I mean, it's not like normally weather just doesn't sneak up on you though. So you either decide to keep it closed or open it. So
Yeah, that's
it's not
true.
like a convertible on a car. You're not like, all right, let's do it.
We did, but not for the roof, not for the roof. And the stadium still has no drainage, so no real grass.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's just the way it was designed.
So has it
Okay,
flooded on that field then?
it can flood the field. That's why there was when the roof was damaged during an ice storm, we actually had to cancel our first game. The first game ever canceled in 2020, I think. We actually had to play a double header, and it was weird because there had never been a double header held. No, there had been a couple double headers held, but one was held in '89 because of a rainout at Exhibition Stadium. Another
So
one was held for some other reason. Okay, yeah.
so you're bringing that double header up. I actually like seeing those. So like
Oh,
if we put domes in every stadium eventually, we probably won't have cancellations that
that is
way, and
true.
we
That
won't
is
have that. I mean,
true.
growing up playing baseball, that was the fun when a game got canceled and you had to play a Saturday with a double header,
Yeah,
you know, and your coaches are like going, "Hey, you need to, never go into that pool between games because you're going to be exhausted." That's
yeah,
important.
yeah. No, I know. I do remember. Yeah, your camera went a little.
I don't know. It doesn't like me.
Yeah, it's just like fuck it, fuck it. It's like whatever.
Try to fix that. It's these
Uh,
bugs here. There we
there
go.
we go. Okay, boom, you're back. Okay, so the next thing on our list is Miller is like
Oh,
yeah, Miller Park. Miller Park's another one right there. Bonus game, woo! See, and it is real dirt. It is real dirt, and I was there. I was there for before they built the real dirt. So yeah, I'm glad it's real dirt there. Now, like I said, you are right. Like there are certain stadiums I don't want a roof on, like Kansas City. I love Kansas City's ballpark. Colorado, need to go there. PNC, San Diego. I've never been to a game, but I've been in the ballpark for TwitchCon. But I've never been there for a game, but it's still a beautiful place.
they did TwitchCon in the stadium. That's
Yeah, they
awesome.
did a concert. Like they had a special concert for TwitchCon in the stadium. So I've been in the stadium, but not for a game because because they happen to be playing the Mets in the playoffs in New York at the time. So. So the next thing on our list is we want to. So what I want to do with this is I want to let you guys talk about some things about for the opening of the season. And one of the biggest things is free agent signings. We're going to talk about some free agent signings. Anyone who surprised you being signed, and some underrated signings. Now, for me personally, I have one player that I'm going to talk about for the underrated signings. I know I saw a bonus guest as well, right?
Yeah, he likes to be part of the show. So
No worries, no worries. So, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
yeah, I can go first. I took some notes. I tried to prep as well as I can. What I did tell you is that like now that we're in the season, I was like, what players did change teams? Because
Yeah.
I'm already in. Well, that's on that player's on this
Yeah,
team.
right, exactly.
But the biggest one and the most expensive one was the Justin Verlander signing with the Mets. I know it's only 2 years and 43.3 million, but he's starting out the season on the IL, and that's what you get. He's 40. He's my age, old. I got the rocking chair,
With a weird
so
injury too. It's not a normal injury. It's a weird injury.
and it's tough because that's a lot of money. I mean, the Mets have, I'm sure that they'll figure that out, but you don't know how long he's going to take to come back. I mean, when you're older, it takes longer. Look, I sneezed the other day and I was down for a count for a little bit. I'm sure I'm not a professional athlete, but that can happen no matter what. Who are you?
And
So
they also lost their closer too. So the Mets lost Verlander and their closer.
yeah, and that being said, they do have Robertson, and he'll fill that in fine. obviously as biased as I am, he was a Yankee, but he's a good pitcher and he's serviceable. He'll figure it out, and he'll do what he needs to. The other signings that I'll let you go actually for your time.
All right, so for me, the biggest signing, Adventure Getting Older for sure, surprise out. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in, everybody, for being here. Yeah, we're just talking some baseball. We're talking about surprising free agent signings. Not surprising, but also the important. And for me, the most important, and there was their only free agent signing, was Wilson Contreras by the St. Louis Cardinals. They got zero production from their catchers last season. Yadier Molina was in his last legs last season. They got surprising production out of Albert Pujols, but they didn't do anything. They signed nobody else. They signed one player to a 5-year deal. Now he's not as good a catcher, and we've already gone over why that you might see catchers throwing out less people anyway. But he is a very good offensive catcher, and the Blue Jays have been playing St. Louis the last few days, and I have seen it. Like I saw it in the first game. He did get hurt in the first game with a fastball to the knee, and that seemed to really hurt him. But I think he is going to be a very, very big pickup for the St. Louis Cardinals because they already have two of the best players in baseball, the MVP and the Nolan Arenado. They got a great outfield, a good rookie core, so I think he is going to be the most valuable signing. Most valuable signing for the team itself. Maybe not an overall value in terms of WAR or numbers, but in terms of putting the final piece together, I think that St. Louis is going to be a much better team just because they have a solid backstop.
I'll have to agree with that. I mean, St. Louis always puts up a good team. They do better a lot of times than people expect. So it'll be interesting. The other signing, and I go back to that Verlander signing, was the Yankees signed Rodon, Carlos Rodon. He started the season on the IL. It's a big amount of money. I hope, obviously, as a fan, I hope he comes back and does well. It's not a long-term injury, but that was one of the worries about him. He hasn't pitched a whole season. Very rare. But one of those signings that I feel is that I enjoy and you probably like is a player that was always a thorn in the AL East, and he's now out of the AL East. Xander Bogaerts now with the Padres. I feel like that was a great signing, and I'm glad he's not there anymore. He's not with the Red Sox. And the same thing. I see that with Eovaldi, an underrated one with Texas. Texas, you discussed Texas is. I feel is one of those hidden teams people forget about. It'd be interesting. Tonight they could start the season 3-0 if they beat the Phillies. I mean, I know it's the Phillies, and I don't have them in any sort of list of good teams this year. But it'd be interesting. I can go down my list too.
Go ahead.
Correa. Minnesota is one of those teams that I feel has every piece they need. They just have to figure it all out. Yes. And the Correa signing, as crazy as it was in that offseason of who's going to get him? Who's going to get him? Did he pass the physical? Did he not? I don't feel like that's an issue now. That the biggest issue is just in a couple of years. So this year, he's got something to prove. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm going to play awesome. Yeah. So he's going to put up some really good numbers.
Also, that is an
I have some,
an amazing contract too, right?
I have some underrated players, that I really that's the signings that I really had down. And it reminded me, I was sad when Benintendi signed. He was with the Yankees. I liked it when they traded for him. I felt like he probably could have fit, but they got Bader. But the White Sox picked up a really good player for cheap. It was only $15 million, a year. And it's going to be interesting to see how well he does in that ballpark and with that team. The other one, again, excited, not with Boston anymore, is JD Martinez. The Dodgers, the Dodgers signed him up 1 year, 10 million. He's a little older, but I feel like, especially with the shift change, not that he was a pretty even keel hitter, but playing in Boston for as many, he started pulling the ball a lot more. So it's changed his approach. I think he's gonna go back to that, and he's probably gonna have a really good year. He already started. I mean, it's tough to tell. We're only 3-4 games into the season, but I think that $10 million contract is going to be a very valuable contract for the Dodgers, and not that they need any more good players over there, but it's going to be good.
Yeah. Also, apparently, he turned down more money. He turned down more money to sign with the Dodgers. Also, multiple years. I heard someone offered him a 2-year deal as well, and he wanted a chance to win.
And it's possible that when you have an older player do that, no matter what sport, it's because they're starting to maybe second guess whether they want to come back every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's especially baseball. The off season of baseball is like 2 months, and that's barely, maybe 3. Because you don't, there's not a whole lot of time, and you're traveling all the time. It's a big commitment, and if they have family or stuff, it's tough to stay away. So
yeah. So for me, another one of the big signings, actually, if it goes well for him, this is for me, it's a make or break signing. Is a Cody Bellinger, the MVP 2017. He has not played well. He has not played well since he won the MVP. In not 2017, 2019. Or was it 2017? Whenever
I don't even think he was playing in 2017.
It's been so long since he won the MVP, and he's been so bad. I don't even know when he's won the MVP.
I mean, he still got paid $17.5 million for being so bad.
He also is a Gold Glove outfielder. So true. I personally think, when he signed with the Cubs, the Jays were looking into signing him, which was all legit because he would have been great to have in our outfield. But I think he signed with the Cubs for one reason. For 2 reasons. One, if the Cubs are good, he plays on a good team in a division that could be winnable with the new schedule, which we actually never talked about. I don't know why, but we went overhead. But we'll talk about that later on when we get to the. We'll talk about that when we move on to each team and stuff like that. But I think if the Cubs are not good, he'll get traded and then no qualifying offer if he has a good season. If he doesn't have a good season, then he's kind of screwed. He's not going to get $17 million again.
And I had to pull up from my producer, just to see. I have to always know the facts. 2019 was his MVP year, but what you're probably thinking is he did get Rookie of the Year in 2017. So
that's why I knew 2019, 2017. I said 2017, but I meant 2019. So there you go. You are correct.
But yeah, I mean, he definitely regressed, and it would be interesting because he's only 27, so it's not like he can't figure it out, and that's an interesting.
And he still has pop. He still can hit home run. He just can't do anything else. He can play the field and hit home runs. And I like I said, if he is an underrated player for me, because if he has a good year, and he could actually help the Cubs because they have they're one of my surprising. They're one of my teams like. They're my Phillies of last year. They could either be the Phillies or they could be nothing. Like they not make the playoffs. Because they've improved with Dan. They got Swanson. They got Bellinger. They got a few other people as well on that team that they picked up. They picked up a lot of people. Jameson Taillon as well. Drew Smiley, Trey Mancini for 2 years. So, even Eric Hosmer, I'm not a big Eric Hosmer fan, but they got Trey Mancini and Eric Hosmer on the team. If they get some good seasons from these formerly good players, and their pitchers show up,
Hosmer will probably. It'll be interesting how the shift change helps him.
Will help him, right?
Because he definitely suffered when that shift started becoming a lot more prevalent. So
exactly.
It'd be interesting to see.
I agree. I very much agree. For me, there's no one else really. All the other signings for me were like the players are going to be who they are. Trey Turner, Nimmo, Rendon. Obviously, I had the same issue with Rendon's on the IL, and I didn't want the Jays to sign him for that reason because he had been healthy, and I figured he's been healthy. You give him a big contract, he's going to get hurt.
Well,
Because
and I'll still hope. It looks like in my fantasy league, I didn't put him in my IL. I put
yeah,
another player because he
okay.
should be back hopefully in the middle of
He
the
should, and like you said,
middle of the month.
when he's healthy, he is very good.
And the rookie, and I'll throw in my Yankee facts, but the rookie Brito, they gave him a chance to Johnny Brito. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I wasn't listening so much, but he pitched really well. 5 innings, shutout, 6 strikeouts for their first time pitching against a pretty good San Francisco Giants team. I don't know how they're going to be through the rest of the whole year, but they have good players that can put the bat on the ball. So.
Oh no, very much so. They may not be as improved as they would have been if they signed Correa and Judge, but they still improved that team. They mostly improved that pitching. Like Mitch Haniger and Conforto were really their big signings, but their pitching is like they replaced Rendon with Rogers, Manaea, and Ross Stripling, who was I got to watch that man last year. And he was pitching with a lot of confidence. So if he can continue pitching the same confidence, that San Francisco team could be surprising.
It could. I mean, on the flip side, the Yankees shut him out twice out of the 3 games. So I hope it's not feast or famine for their hitters, because even if you talk to, I mean, we were mentioning the Expos from years ago. One of the things I always recall is that if your team doesn't hit, you can't win. I mean, there was a perfect game going into 10th inning, and Pedro Martinez couldn't get it because his team didn't hit for him.
Didn't score exactly. You don't score runs, you don't win. And that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. You have to score runs. So like having these great fielders, which is the lines like. How good a fielder, how bad a fielder can you be if you can hit? But also how good a fielder can you be if you can't hit? You know what I mean? Where's the line? Obviously no player is going to be perfect. but you need to have a nice balance in your lineup, which I personally think, at least because we're more knowledgeable about our own teams. I think my team is good about that. Well, and it's the perfect segue into our predictions for the year. And do you want to start with our AL East? You want to start with our AL East?
Yeah, why don't we start?
Why not? Right?
I mean, look. One of the fun things about doing this is that you get to start with the AL since it's the better conference.
The AL East is the best division in baseball, and honestly, we're not being biased saying that.
No, I mean the Rays always put up great teams, and actually, I got to double check. I'm pretty sure they started the season 3-0. I don't know if they finished.
Oh my God! Is everyone starting the season 3-0? The Jays have lost 2 games in a row now, so we're 1-2.
Yeah, they beat. I mean, so they got matched up with the Tigers, Detroit Tigers. So it's tough to always tell, but you have to still play and win the games. So yeah, they started 3-0. So it's a long season, so I'd only take that, but it's a good start. But it just proves that like they lose people, they replace them. It's their front, their coaching staff and the executives of that team get poached all the time from other teams because of how well that organization is run. So,
even their coaches, and managers stuff.
I'm gonna obviously say the Yankees are gonna win the division, but I will preface, I like what the Jays have done, and actually I was listening to MLB radio and there was a couple people picking them to win the division. So I was actually not necessarily shocked, but a little surprised that they were seeing that, because when you're going up against all the teams that are in that division, that and say that's an awesome thing to see now. But there'll be less games against the division, this year with the scheduling, and we didn't talk about the scheduling changes and the more every team like is good. But it also means that now you can't go, 4-10 against another team, which means
in your division.
not so.
Yeah. Like with only being 12 games, it used to be 18 or 19 games. You like if you want to beat you like you if you go 4-8 against your division, and then you win, then those extra games you win, the other teams all probably winning those extra games as well. So you've just gotten 4-8 against the team in your division, and then got the same record against another team. You're still behind them. Like, yeah, like you need to win those. These head-to-head matchups actually become more important for divisional seeding.
And I always like that because I'm always gonna, and our presence every time I'm gonna say something bad about the Red Sox. That's just how the rules are. But the Orioles would always play the Red Sox tough and tight, and they almost beat them all, yesterday too. But they lost. But
the error walk-off. Oh my god.
But I like that because sometimes that's the differentiator for the season is that the Red Sox didn't beat the Orioles, but the rest of the teams did.
So how do you think that division is going to play out? So Yankees up top, your Yankees up top, your Blue Jays. I'm guessing Blue Jays second. So where's the rest of the division for you? Tampa, I guess.
I think it's going to be. I think we're going to have another at least 2 wild card teams.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, realistically, it could come down to those 3 teams that you just said, battling it out that last month. But I think if the Blue Jays can stay healthy, they have the upper hand over the Rays, just because by that point the Rays might have already traded some of their pieces away. We don't know. That's always the open, because that team will try to be as competitive as possible for as long as possible.
Yes.
But if they see a trade they need to make to make sure that they're good in 3 or 4 years and continue, they will do that. They're cutthroat. It's hard. I'm sure it's hard as a fan of that team to enjoy their players, though. That's the flip side. I mean, yes, they're going to be great, but how do you? There's not a player that you can be like, oh yeah,
It's hard to buy jerseys and stuff when you know that player's going to be gone in 2 years for 2 more good players who are going to keep you guys in the playoffs. But
they should take a play from the Yankees and just number their players, from 0 on, and just keep them no name, and then you can buy jersey number 4, and there you go.
There you go. You have the players use the same numbers. Like you'll occasionally get those generational players. Like, I think Evan Longoria deserves to have his number retired for the Rays, because he played there for so long, was so important to them. But yeah, I fully agree. So then who's the bottom of the division then this year for you?
I mean, it's I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't know if the Orioles are going to overtake Reds. I just don't have any faith in the Red Sox. And what they've done. They didn't really do a whole lot. Now they could surprise me. But those Orioles, especially at the end of last year, they were playing some tough baseball. And if they can carry that into this year, and we're gonna see what their makeup is in this month of April.
Okay.
If they do well in April, they may make it to 4th. I don't see them going past but who knows? I mean, we could have 3 wildcard teams, in the East.
Potentially, yeah.
But we won't know.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I'm undecided. Let me, let's re-ask this in May, or even after.
Yeah, we'll go over. We'll see. We'll definitely look over the standings.
How about you? Obviously you have the Jays over everyone.
No, I don't. So for me, the Yankees are winning the division. The Yankees are the better team in the division pitching wise on paper. Not like very, very slim margin on paper, but like when they're healthy. Right now, the Jays are the better team because half the Yankees pitchers are on the IL. But
Okay.
over a full course of the season, I think the Jays are the better team. So it's going to be very, very close. And I do agree with you. It's going to come down to who's healthy and who's winning those games that they need to win against each other. And I hope the Jays can beat the Yankees this year. But I still think the Yankees will have an edge. I don't know why, but I still think the Yankees just have that edge. Now I do think the Jays have the better offense. They're more put together. But like it's all like it said, for me, it's all up to the health. And in the past, yeah, thank you for the tab, homie. In the past, the Jays haven't been healthy. Springer's been hurt. Kiermaier's been hurt in the past. My hope is that they stay healthy all season. Vlad hasn't been hurt yet, but he got a little twinge this season. So, like, my goal is if they all stay healthy, then we're gonna win the division easily.
I mean, they're a young team for the most part, and they've started learning. They play tough too. They don't have fear, so it's just we'll get to see. I mean, April 21st to the 23rd. It's a weekend. They play in Yankee Stadium, and we get to see both teams have fun. So,
and like I said, and honestly, I think that's gonna be a big series for the Jays themselves. The biggest thing is, especially after last season, their horrible playoff disappointment, is moving on from that and just going out and playing the baseball that they want to play. And even if you lose, like I've been watching, like today they lost. Today they lost, and they lost in a bad way. That happens. But they lost yesterday. They lost yesterday in just a tough luck loss. But they played the game that they always play. And that's a game they're going to win eventually. Eventually, baseball gods will say Kevin Gausman's not going to have the highest BABIP in the world. And the Jays will win that game instead of losing it. And if they don't get themselves down, then we're going to be a better team. But the same can go for Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay, oh my God, Tampa Bay, they every single year. I've talked to you about this offline, but Tampa Bay does something. They sign somebody who's like last year for Jays fans, they had Harold Ramirez is their cleanup hitter. And if you're a Jays fan, you know where we got Harold Ramirez for Drew Hutchison, who's somehow back on the Jays. Mellow version of Rocks. Exactly. I need that's why we're doing this, Joey. That's why we're doing this. So like they made a couple free agent signings. They had they signed Ben Gamel, Zach Eflin to a 3-year deal, and they have the Franco on their team. They have a good core of players on that team right now. With their star player being Franco, their superstar, plus with a nice little shortstop and Walls. They got a good infield, they got a decent outfield, and they got a pretty good rotation. So once again, I think Tampa's going to win at least 90 games, because I can't put them for any less than 90. almost any season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how it unfolds, and I can't wait. It's going to be a fun season. So
yeah, and like you said, the bottom of the order, I still think you're right. It's going to be Boston or Baltimore. Now the one thing is that you're right. This first month is going to make or break Baltimore, in my opinion, as well. I think that that their experience last year being a good team, they did have a bunch of players having well over career years. There's going to be some regression. Now, my dad's favorite player, like one of his new favorite players, is Adley Rutschman. And I think he's going to have an amazing season. I think he's going to win an MVP. In my opinion, this man is going to win an MVP and lead Baltimore to the playoffs multiple seasons in a row. Just not this year. But he will get there. He will get there one day. And I think Baltimore's going to finish last. The Red Sox are going to have an up and down year. They're going to be my 4th place team in that division. Okay. In my opinion, because they still have some players, and and they still have a pretty good team, and it's Boston. Like, if Kenley Jansen plays well, they have a good closer. They have a potentially good closer,
and they can absorb some money on a trade. So
exactly. And you never know. Like if with the new schedule, they don't have to play the Yankees, the Blue Jays, Tampa as many times as well. So those teams on the edge get a little bit of how to put this, a little bit of extra motivation to play those other bad teams and beat them. More games against the AL Central, more games against the NL Central. So they could get a little boost at certain times in the season. But I still think it's Yankees, Blue Jays, Tampa, and Boston and Baltimore for the AL East.
I like seeing that. You know, it'd be great. We'll have to record these. I mean, obviously, I meant like write them down, record,
hell yeah.
but and figure out how our predictions came out. You know, I want to make sure we give love to the rest of the league because we.
Now we're gonna go to. I think we go down to the Central now. We've done a little spiel for the East. Let's do the Central. So you want?
Yeah, I could start. So you know, I like some of the things the White Sox have been trying to do over the last couple of years. I feel like they could be competitive, but I think the all around team in that division is Minnesota. I think they have the more talent, but I don't know if they get out of that division though. Like any sort of playoff game, I don't know if they go further, but I'm gonna have to say Minnesota in that division. It's and we talked about this. The Centrals for me on both AL and NL are such a toss up. The small market teams are always hard to tell because, you know, is this the year that their investment in this player works out, or maybe they didn't invest properly, you know, and unfortunately the central part of the United States is a lot of times where most of the smaller market teams are. So
yeah, that's fair. For me, the winner of the Central Division is gonna be the Guardians. I don't know why, but I just don't trust that Minnesota Twins pitching staff. They did trade for Pablo Lopez, so they do have a nice guy, but he is injured a lot. He has been injured a lot. They have Kenta Maeda, who has been up for the Cy Young. They have Sonny Gray. They have a bunch of different people, but like I was reading an article, I forget what I was reading it, but someone said, but who do you want to start? Like, who's gonna start those important games? I don't know. Like, if I had two other starters and then one of those guys pitching, yeah, I'd be fine. But that's all. That's 3/4 of the rotation. They have Carlos Correa, but Carlos Correa didn't put them over the edge last year, and they had him for a whole season last year. So I'm wondering, like they are the most solid team. They are the most solid team, but I don't know if they have enough. Now maybe they'll make a trade. Like I said, this is the preseason. This is the preseason predictions. Maybe they make a trade, but I don't see them winning. Now personally, I see the Guardians picking up and being better. They had no home runs last year. They were a young team playing above their weight. I think you could agree with that.
Yeah, I mean it was interesting to watch them grow though. And you know I can somewhat agree. I don't know. I think
1 second. I think the young dog out. He needs to go pee. 1 second.
Yeah, that's all right.
There you go. We're back.
All right. That's the joys of doing this live. But what I will say is, I do agree, but I also think because of that inexperience and that youngness, I think Minnesota might have a little upper hand. I mean, who knows? We we could be surprised, and this could be the year that Kansas City somehow figures something out, you know. But I will say, you know, right now, Minnesota and Cleveland are the ones that are, 1 and 2. So, you know, we're not against anything. So, but Minnesota Minnesota played Kansas City for 3 games, and so it's there. Detroit and Kansas City are probably going to be the ones that we're going to look at and say, oh, they're just going for bottom of the draft picks. So
the thing is, though, it makes no sense because I thought the Tigers. I'll be right back. Let me say. Okay. I think the Tigers themselves, weren't they like they almost won 80 games 2 years ago. They played above their weight 2 years ago, and then last season was actually a disappointment. They were supposed to be good last season.
I mean, they're not starting this season pretty well. They have a negative 18 out of 3 games, a negative 18 differential.
Yeah,
they've scored 3 runs and against 21. So
and
that's
so, like,
not a good start.
So what happened? Like, because I thought like their rebuild they've been on a rebuild since what, 2015?
It's their front office just isn't that good.
So
it's not run that right. I mean, Detroit's always been a hit or miss team. I always look back at the 90s teams, and that team was awful. Those teams are awful, even though they had really good stars sometimes. So, all right.
yeah. So and the White Sox, they're mid. They're mid. They're honestly they're. I've been looking at. I looked up some predictions as well. They're everyone's mid tier. They're everyone's mid tier.
I just, it comes down to I don't know how much he's going to have an everyday effect.
Yeah.
But I always went back to that Benintendi signing. I think he's an underrated signing. And he's a winner.
Yeah.
So he can change the team and make them, as long as he can stay healthy, he can make them do well. He's a contact hitter that can hit for some power. And when he gets on base, he can make things happen. And he's a Gold Glove outfielder. So, it's one of those things where
losing Hendricks has really, like, I watched that first game, even though they beat the Astros on opening day, having a closer by committee with a first-year manager is gonna be a little. I think they miss Liam. They're gonna miss Liam Hendricks, at least because even when he comes back, if he comes back this season, because he did prayers out to Liam Hendricks that he did get diagnosed with cancer, and that's why he's off. Hopefully he does come back because he was an amazing pitcher. But like them losing him really hurts their pen. So, yeah. For me, they're the third place team. No matter, like, I don't see them being over for. So it's Guardians, Twins, White Sox, and then honestly, Kansas City and Detroit are garbage for me.
All right. Well, sorry, anyone from Detroit and Kansas City. Hopefully your teams get better off time.
Hopefully though.
But I want to talk about this AL West.
Oh, too. Hell yeah! I've been waiting for this one. So I'm gonna let you take off the show with.
So in my notes, and I'll tell you, in my notes, I have Houston written down because you can't always count them out. Unfortunately, as a Yankee fan, I loathe Houston because they just don't seem to beat them in the playoffs, and it's annoying. I have a frowny face written next to their name. So, however, I have a lot of hope with the things that Texas has done that they can figure out a way to make that division more competitive on that aspect. I mean, I always hope, you always want to see the Angels do something for the sake of Trout getting into the playoffs and Ohtani and stuff, but I just don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the scores, we're doing this in, near the evening now. Yeah, I mean, well, the Angels are winning against the A's, so that's good. But I hope Texas can do it, but my gut always says that Houston will figure it out, or they'll make that trade for that one player because their farm league has like an endless supply of good players. So they're able to pull that one great player out every year on the trade deadline and figure it out.
They replaced Correa with a rookie with a guy who won 2 playoff MVPs.
they're starting to get up there. I mean, my AL East thing, but I I'm not as much as a fan of them because they figure out how to run their organization well, and then they have money to back it up sometimes too, which is like they're like Tampa Bay with money. So it's like, oh man,
exactly. That's a very good description of them. That is a very good description. Tampa Bay with money. But now my biggest question is, what do you think of Texas? What do you think of Texas? Because Texas has put in a lot of money into that team the last 2 years.
I like them. I like them. I think they have a good all around team. I want to see how it progresses. You know, it's a hard thing about these predictions in baseball is that it's as long as the season is, they could be great for 2 months and then it could all just crumble. You know, so and that's why when teams make it to the playoffs in baseball, I'm like, they're good teams. You can't be good for that long without being a really good team. So once the playoffs start, it's anyone's game, which I love about baseball.
Yes.
So,
fair.
I'm having a hard time saying. I'm having a hard time deciding whether I really like Texas or not. We'll figure that out as the season goes on, though.
For me personally, like, so last year they brought in two shortstops, and they put one at second base because he played second base the year before, and they put a shortstop in. They got a pitcher, and the team didn't do anything. This year, like they are starting well. So, like, to be fair, they did pick it up near the end of last season as a team, but to be fair, like you said, I still don't know where they're gonna finish because Seattle is so good. Seattle's bullpen is so good, and Seattle's offense is improved. They traded for Teoscar Hernandez. I know he hasn't shown much yet in Seattle, but Teoscar Hernandez, as a Jays fan, we know how good he is. And they did, even though they traded one of their best relievers, they have such a good pitching core.
And so I always forget about Seattle. Not that they're on the West. It's just that they have the ability to maybe be good. But looking at they could surprise.
On paper, like the Texas Rangers have the bigger names on paper. I know Seattle won. Like, for me, Houston's number one. Houston's winning the division. So for number two, like, this is the wild card right here.
Right.
It's like wild card for like the Jays, Tampa, and Seattle and Texas are fighting for 3 wild card spots, in my opinion. And the Yankees, because whoever's going to lose the AL East, are all fighting for 3. Because I think the Astros will win the division, more or less, because they didn't really lose anybody. They didn't really they gained a better first baseman.
It will be interesting if their pitching can hold up, though, the Astros through the year, because they've over the couple of years they've lost really good pitchers, So and they've been plugging them in, but you don't know how well they're going to be through, consistently when you lose those aces year after, back-to-back years. They lost their ace.
Yeah,
so
that's very true. That is very true. And then, but also multiple World Series and losing your aces. Because they lost the World Series in 21. They lost the World Series in 19. You know what I mean? Like, the pitchers who are there have also pitched a lot, and they get the playoffs every year. So yeah, that's another thing. Will their pitching hold up? For me personally, it's gonna be the Astros. It's gonna be the Mariners. Because I'm sorry, the Rangers are gonna be better than you. The Angels have nobody. So I have to shout out to one of my homies. I'm gonna pull this up on my phone. But one of my homies had this tweet, and this tweet. He did this tweet years ago, and this is a viral tweet. This tweet went viral. So if you're on Twitter in the baseball world, at least in my local baseball world, you would have seen it. But this also went viral, like, in the baseball realm. People quote this tweet everywhere. Where the hell is it? Oh my god. Oh, I said it right here. Perfect. Okay. This tweet is here. Every time I see the Angels highlight, it's like Mike Trout hit 3 home runs and raised his average to 528. Well, Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten Armo Tool of the 1921 Arkham Groomsmen as the Tigers defeat the Angels 8-3. Like that is the Angels. Shohei Ohtani.
I think I've seen that. I actually think I saw that tweet or something similar.
It's from 2021.
I really hope, and you can't because you need to put people in the stands. But what the Angels really should do is package or trade those 2 stars out. Now they both
Trout you can't trade. He's 10-5 now. He's 10-5.
Yeah,
you can't trade him.
Trout, but if they talk to them and be like, hey, we want to trade them, they might, do they want to go to teams that will win? Probably. I mean, look, every player with a no trade is going to open up.
They need to find out. They need to get something for Ohtani.
Unless you're Votto, you're going to get traded. That's but
well, he doesn't want to. To be fair to Votto, like as a Canadian, we wanted him, and he just wants to spend his career. He's done what he needed to do. Right. He wants to spend his career just playing baseball. And
that's fine. Look, I'm not hitting anyone. You probably establish your family in a certain area. You have a routine. Things like that.
I have to go. Their dogs are barking. Give me a sec, guys.
Yeah, no problem. Awkward silence on the stream. Hopefully he's back. See, I prepped for baseball. I don't have any dad joke preps right now, so
Sorry about that. One of the dogs ran out of water and decided to bark at the other dog for no reason.
It's all right. I was about to pull up like old dad jokes or something, so
you can entertain. Exclamation point dad joke in chat if you need some jokes, guys.
All right. See, I knew I liked you. That's I've done
dogs being dogs, exactly.
So let's hop over to the NL. We give a lot of love to the AL. So and I not to rush us, but my family's waiting to go out to dinner eventually. So
and I also have to feed the dogs at 6. That's their food time. So they are a little antsy. So let's move on to the NL. Oh, do you want to start with the West?
Yeah, let's do Snake. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because I have some things to talk about for the West. Because we mentioned this earlier. And the Padres have made some significant moves. And with Tatis coming back, is this team going to be unstoppable? Like, are they the best team in the NL? I know, like because Bogarts, like Soto, Tatis, Machado, they just signed Cronenworth to a 7-year deal. They have Musgrove, Snell, Yu Darvish. Like, they have names on names. All players should still produce.
See, my problem is that they collect all these great players, but every year they disappoint me and don't perform the way they should, and it's frustrating. Because obviously I don't want to see, the same teams unless it's my team winning every year. I want to see some competition. And, I did write down that they have a chance. But, my at the end of the day, I still have to give it to the team that figures out how to spend a lot of money, but also get players that they shouldn't necessarily get, even, as the Dodgers. They just consistently add more players, and right now,
they have a good, they still have a good team. They still have a good team. Like, they were a good team last year. They just got beat by a very, very hot Like they just got beat. They just happened to get beat in the playoffs. Like team, like we said, the playoffs are a whole different game. So, um, like I think you're right. It's gonna be this is gonna be a battle, but it's also good for baseball having a competitive NL West. The Dodgers, this is not an easy. Yeah, the Dodgers are gonna win the NL West. Like you can't just predict that again.
No, and the Rockies have done some hidden things. They have a farm team. They've been getting players in there. If they could figure out how to pitch a little, I mean, that's obviously the hardest things to pitch there. But
it's so hard in that stadium,
but
Don.
if they get even a little pitching,
yeah,
they have the hitters to make themselves competitive. Now,
yeah,
I don't know if they can keep that up the whole season.
yeah.
But the nice thing about baseball is that if they even do enough, they could put themselves into a wild card position potentially. Because the NL, I'm a little tossed up of how many teams are going to come out of each division.
Compete, right? Yeah.
So
for me, I think the hidden team as a Rockies fan, I hope it's the Rockies, but I still think for the Arizona Diamondbacks last season they won 76 games. The year before they lost 100, and they did some not special things, not cool things. They signed Evan Longoria to play third base, a league average third baseman, a league average defender. His name is well known, but he's not the Evan Longoria we all know. They have Zach Davies, they have Zach Gallen. They have a really good team. They got some more offense potentially if Gurriel can keep up his production. They have a rookie catcher now, 23 years old, who's been hitting bombs in the spring training. They got it may not be this year, but in the next couple years, the Arizona Diamondbacks could be a team you could say knocking on the door.
It'll be interesting if Bumgarner has a bounce back because last couple of years he's been a little awful, shaky, especially in Arizona. I mean, San Francisco did figure out, they did it, but it's going to be interesting. He's still only 33 though, and he's a pitcher first, so he'll figure it out. I'm just not sold. I think what the front office does is they get these players to get people in the stands, not to necessarily compete long term. And I mean, anything could happen. They'll compete or not, but I think it's more about let's put on an entertaining game and get people in the stands. It's it's cooler in the stadium during the summer than it is outside. Yeah. So one of the few places that you could say that,
That's fair.
So, fair. They get people in the stands. So that's what their goal is.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. All right. Yeah. So for me, it's the San Diego, Los Angeles, Arizona, San Francisco with the Rockies in bottom. That one for me. Okay. Now this division, honestly, flip a coin, and Cardinals for me, the Cardinals are the team to beat in the Central. More like I said when I talked about Contreras, they have the best players. At the same time, their pitching, while improved, has always been hit or miss. And if the Brewers are one of those teams, if the Brewers win the first month of the year, then the Brewers can say to themselves, we're going to push for this. If the Brewers lose the first month of the year, they need to sell that team and get as many prospects as they can for those free agents. Otherwise, they are going to be in a rebuild for a while.
I'll agree. I actually have the Pittsburgh Pirates as my number. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna be like, okay, first off, Andrew, you're getting me all hyped here. Pittsburgh's my third favorite team here, bro. Let's go, Pittsburgh. Andrew,
I hope they do, but they're one of those teams that they just. I feel like they have a hard time investing back in their team, and I don't know if they need. Milwaukee needs new ownership. There's certain teams that need ownership, like where they get those people that have way too much money and just want to invest and see how it works. They're bored and they just want to spend. That's their toy.
They got lucky,
they just need
right? it. Like for me, Pittsburgh made the playoffs for like 3 straight years. They had AJ Burnett, Francisco Liriano, like Like they had the beginnings of
They,
Garrett Cole. They had these like the random players coming in and playing well for them.
and they've always had a knack of taking players that may not have done well, and figuring them out. It's just they don't do that through their whole team, you know, and it's tough. It's tough.
And they don't do it anymore either because they've been so awful. It's just like they almost let Brian Reynolds go because he was unhappy.
I mean, it comes down to some of it is should they be spending money, and then do fans see? I don't know if fans actually show up to that ballpark. I don't watch enough. So
it is the top 2 best, most beautiful ballparks in baseball.
Okay.
It is like I've never been there. I need to be there. I had a trip. I canceled it for TwitchCon. But if you like, you should go visit Pittsburgh. Like I said unobjectively, 2 of like it may not be your favorite, but it's 2 of the top like most beautiful ballparks. Up and just how it's built. You see the nice little Allegheny River on the back of it, along with San Diego.
Pittsburgh's a nice city. I haven't been to the stadium, so it'll be an interesting thing. One of my, probably any baseball fan is I want to hit up every stadium if possible.
Oh, hell yeah.
When I'm somewhere, if there's a game going on, I'm going to try my hardest to figure it out, even if it's the 2 worst teams playing. When I was down in Miami years ago, when I was down in Miami in 2013, 2014, I had a chance to watch the Marlins versus the Cubs, and that was before the Cubs had their spike of good team.
Yeah.
And so no one wanted to go to that, but you know what? I got really good seats. It was funny because we parked in the parking garage. My friend picked me up, and we were down there, and they're like waving, "No, you can't park at that place." And we're like, "All right." So we parked over there underneath the stadium. We get out, and the attendant goes, "No, you can't park over there. That's where the players' wives and the umpires park." I was like, "Are we in the right place?" That wouldn't happen in New York. You're not parking anywhere near those.
Yeah, exactly. Same, exactly.
But it's so went down a tangent, but and I do that, but I'm gonna go with St. Louis. They got the it's not that I want to go with St. Louis. They just have the track record of always figuring it out, and the history of baseball of the Yankees and the most championship. St. Louis is the next one, and they have a lot too. So their organization is that win first type, so they'll do what they can. And they prove
like they have a good team who's hungry. Like that team is hungry.
I'm always wondering if Cincinnati will break out of their
No, I don't think not. Like say one of those another team needs a new owner. Their owner basically told fans, "We hate you. I hate you." Like honestly, other than Green, that amazing pitcher they have, Joey Votto is the best thing on that team because he's so awesome to fans. Let's go Rockies! They just scored a run.
Nice. See.
Well, yeah, for me, we talked about the Cubs earlier too. The Cubs could surprise people. They've made big improvements. I think they're 1 year behind they're 1 year behind the Rangers. They made improvements this year. This is the year that they could get lucky if the Milwaukee Brewers suck and the Cardinals get hurt or something, or like you said, or no other teams are trying for the division and they've been winning games.
I feel like that fan base though is also okay. They got their championships, so
and they made their playoffs, yeah. But also like as a fan base who was around at that time, we didn't make it all the way. But even if you make it all the way, you're a Yankees fan. Don't you want a championship every year?
Well, that's a different story. Look, we got spoiled, and being 39, I really started following baseball a lot in the 90s, it's so tough to have that introduction to really good baseball, and having probably some 98 was probably one of the best teams in baseball total. You rank them down, so when you get to see that and a couple, that team then stretched, when they lost the 2 in 01 and 03, it went down to, game 7 and game 6. I mean, 03 was a little, rough, but like 01, they almost had 4 in a row. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't for some.
That like I told you, that was my first one I remember, but I don't really because the Yankees were in 4 World Series in a row, so I remember that one because they lost it, not because
Yeah,
but they were in every World Series. So I feel that, like I said, I feel that.
And it's and it's tough to stitch back as because you have that very strong like spoiledness, I guess. Now, I will say 2000s, helped that a little, and the and from 2010 to 2020, there wasn't really a whole lot of there was a couple of years they didn't actually make the playoffs either.
For me, I'm a person. When I look at a team's history, I say, how was your last 10 years? What was your last 10 years? Because like obviously league history, the Yankees have the most championships. Well, like for me, if they win a ring, will I be upset? Because of the Yankees, I will be. But for baseball, they haven't won a championship in the last 10 years. So if they win a ring, I'm not gonna be as upset as I would have been if it was 2010.
It's true. What I will say is that the playoff wins haven't been there, but what I will say is their record, and they haven't played up to that record through the season. They figure it out during the only that I was looking from 2010 to 2023. Only the Dodgers have more wins total,
and the Dodgers have made the playoffs every year since
and they both made the playoffs 10 of those years.
Yeah, 10 of those 13 years. And the Dodgers have won the division, I think, almost every single year.
And there's only one title between both of them. I mean, that you're talking the top two. Same with so that's where it's interesting.
Well, and so then speaking of title aspirations, now we have the NL East, and we've talked about the NL East earlier with the Mets and their injuries. This is the big thing. So you mentioned earlier that the Phillies, you didn't have the Phillies on any of your lists. So are the Phillies at the bottom of the division with Miami and Washington, or are they in a playoff hopeful?
I'm just not sure. Because that team last year was so surprising. I think it's going to be a battle. I mean, what the Mets have done with their money that they brought in, and you can't necessarily buy playoffs, but you get good players with money. So you get enough good players, you're going to have a decent time. Exactly. I still think it's a battle between the Mets and the Braves.
Okay.
I don't think I think the Braves are still at that level where they can do what they did, and keep and play. But I'm just going to discount Miami and Washington. I don't think either team is ready to play with those other 2-3 teams. But I will say, I mean, if we go by today, Philly, if the Phillies lose to the Rangers, they start 0-3. So, we don't know. But no, all jokes aside, the Mets have started the season well, 3-1. And I know these are but I can't negate seeing what they've done the last couple days.
Exactly. Starting off the season well is always important.
I as a fellow New Yorker, I kind of have a friendly hatred for the Mets. I'm gonna like them if they get in there because I'm a New Yorker, but the Yankees are the better New York team.
Isn't it better when they're good? Isn't it better when they're good? So the game, if you're gonna face them this year,
and my uncle's a Mets fan, so I have to at least but I wanna say the Mets are gonna do enough, but I haven't seen enough of that team yet.
Okay.
I do think the Braves are gonna take it out, and the Phillies are the wild card. I don't know how they're going to perform this year. If that was a fluke season, and they're going to regress, but I could be totally wrong, and they could take that division. So, but if I have to go with my gut, I'm going to say the Braves, the Mets, Phillies, and then the rest. I don't know about Washington, Miami. They're going to fight probably. They're going to play a lot of games with players on second base. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Honestly, so I at the beginning of the season, when I beginning of this pod, or like beginning of when I was looking into teams, I went in thinking the Phillies were going to be my number 2 team, based on what happened to the Mets. The Phillies were going to be my number 2 team, but the Phillies also, I remember, they don't have Bryce Harper right now. Like, they don't have Bryce Harper right now. So,
how long is he out for? I think he's out
for a few. He's out for a few more months. Like, he's coming back in May or June. So they don't have Bryce Harper. Their pitching is different. And they don't, like I said, they don't have David Robertson. Their bullpen is a little weaker. So I actually didn't realize how, like, their team is a lot of the same players that just barely made the playoffs last year. They had to, if you guys remember, they had to beat Houston. They clinched the division. And I mean, they clinched the wild card 2 days before the season ended in Houston to end the season last year.
I do.
And it was like, because they were almost not going to make the playoffs, and then they almost lost to St. Louis in Game 1 of the playoffs because St. Louis is a good team, and then St. Louis made an error, and then that just shot them off. They had the Rockies run. They had a run like the Rockies in 07. Like, they just played well in the playoffs and outlasted teams. Yeah, you're right. I don't know where they stand.
So going, putting this back, I wanted to double check because I did have some notes on this, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't, saying the wrong thing is not my thing. But
no worries.
They signed Trey Turner to a giant contract. The Phillies did, and it's going to be interesting to see how that, because he's got a lot of ability, but I almost forgot that they have, some of the players that they do. Like, will Schwarber actually do well, with the shift change? Let's see.
Because he's still a great player. Yeah. And they also picked up Taijuan Walker to fix their rotation.
So, you have me second guessing what I'm thinking about now, diving deeper into this. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna for the fact of just doing it. I'm gonna stick to the Braves.
Yeah, they're still a flip of the coin team. Now, like I said, they're my number 2. I have the Braves winning as well because I love seeing older players. Justin Verlander. I was lucky enough to be at his last no-hitter. I was lucky enough to be at his last no-hitter. I got invited there by a buddy of mine. And I met Abraham Toro's family, who's Canadian, who was sitting like right behind us. And I was also an Astros fan, so I was a huge Justin Verlander guy. And I loved his career. How he was great, he was not so good, and then he became great again, all on just his own, figuring out how to pitch. So I love the signing. Max Scherzer, they've been teammates on Detroit. I love that signing, getting them both in the same team, and seeing the Mets, but. At the same time, we all know, when you get older, things don't always work all the same. And having 2 40-year-old pitchers for 3 years lining that staff, if they don't pitch well, there's money down the drain. And then they lose their closer. Yes, they have David Robertson, but they lost David Robertson, and Edwin Diaz is way better than just David Robertson. So the Mets, they lost. They did sign Brandon Nimmo, so they have a nice outfielder for the year. I just think they're gonna be a little less than they were last year.
Good points. I mean, I definitely, this is actually my hand. I'm so old, so it's no. I'm just, it's interesting. I do say, it's tough to tell.
Yeah.
How age is going to affect some of these players, especially pitchers, because they could, I remember listening to a lot of pitchers, and they're like, I wish I knew what I know now when I was younger, because I learned how to pitch, but sometimes I couldn't do what I could do to get that person out because they're just a better hitter at the point. And if I had that extra 1 or 2 mile per hour pitch, I could do it. That's why Nolan Ryan was as good for as long. He didn't lose. He barely lost his speed. Yeah. But not everyone has that type of
I use Mark Burley as a good example. Mark Burley was a great pitcher until his last season, basically. And even then, he could still shut you down because he never had the speed. He knew how to pitch. So yeah, like I said, the NL East is one division where it's gonna have either have 3 good teams or 2 good teams. There's gonna be good teams coming out of it, and it's either gonna be a battle. And I don't think anyone's gonna run away, unless Atlanta has like every single player. If Atlanta has every player doing well, then they're gonna run away because they're that good. They could be that good potentially.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, like who has pitchers and who doesn't. Injuries are always interesting to watch, and we'll keep an eye on that.
Hell yeah!
This has been awesome. I gotta go back once and write down what we did. I mean, I obviously have my eyes.
This will also be posted on YouTube. So for all the people who are here who are vibing out, hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, this was our first attempt at doing a baseball podcast. Me and Infested together. What we're gonna try and do in the coming weeks is we're gonna start talking about things that we want to hear. At least for me personally, is I want to hear what good games that were on last week. What games we should watch in the next coming week. We're gonna pick a couple divisions. So what divisions do you want to start with? Let's do the AL East and the NL East.
Yeah. I mean, that's we get to see, the first couple weeks and compare, and then when we rotate back, we'll have a lot more substance to look at. So
and basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, hey, which are the good games to watch in these type of races? It's early in the season, so finding good games is honestly not that hard because you get to see pitchers playing for their new teams for the first time or second time.
And I'll make sure that I check out the other stadiums through these podcasts. I gotta be on those fields. Some of them,
That's 100%. Also, we will get my sound fixed. I'm in a different location, so my sound is a little bit weird. So we will figure that out. But yeah, thank you guys. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, I will be opening up a section in my Discord tonight after I feed the dogs, because the dogs will eat me alive if I don't get them fed. So I will open a section in my Discord for questions. I can't guarantee we'll answer everything at the moment, but I do like if we're talking about something and you have some insight to what we're talking about, feel free to put that in chat so we can add that to what we're talking about, because I want to make this something that you guys enjoy and also feel you're a part of. It's not just me and Infested chatting away about baseball, because we could do that off stream if we wanted to.
We did actually,
did, exactly. Our pre for this.
I lost 2 hours. I was like, oh, we talked way too much. Just like today, we talked way too much. So, and if you have an idea for what we should name the podcast or show, we can.
And like I said, these will also be posted on my YouTube. The links are right there. I'll be posting a video version and an audio version only. They won't be up right away. I have to edit them, obviously. But I'll be posting those probably within the next couple days. Okay. So thank you guys very much for being here. I don't even know who the hell's online. Who are we gonna raid?
Josh still doing his
Josh is still doing his thing. I just raided him. You know what I'm gonna raid?
All right.
I'm gonna raid my friend doing a 3-year uncapped subathon. Her name is Bubbles. She's an awesome human, huge supporter of the stream, guys. Huge supporter of the stream. Is she online though? I think she's online. So we're gonna send it over to her. Yeah, she's awake. She's doing a 3 years on Twitch. She just got partner last year. Awesome human, guys. So we're gonna send the stream.
Hey there, Momo Daddy.
Oh, you meant 3 years thirsty. Total. I was totally shocked.
How about some water?
900, days.
That's how long it took him. Oh no, I know someone who got partner literally in 6 months. He got hit in 8 months. He got partnered in 8 months, and they denied his application because his getting partner for him, he was in a unique area, like a unique getting partner, and they denied him, and then he had to show them it's all real people. Only people following me are real. Then they gave him partner. So yeah, he had 1.6 thousand followers.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
again, thank you for allowing
Hell
me
yeah.
to do this with you.
No, I love
has
this, man. I love this.
This has been
Thank
fun.
you so much.
And
Thank you guys for all
hopefully,
being here.
everyone enjoys. And you don't have to replace me with AI or something.
Well, we might if the Yankees and Jays play in the playoffs, maybe I'll hire some professional.
Well, there might be there might be a more screaming, like Joey was saying.
Oh yeah,
might
exactly.
happen.
We'll get a little hype. Also, yo, thank you guys. Like I said, thank you guys for showing up and hanging out. For me personally, I want to do this. If a lot of you guys know, I had a little medical issue, and I want to do this to have a little bit of a chill day on our streams. Plus, I love talking baseball. I love talking sports. So this is, and I want also, like, you guys. Like I said at the beginning, I want you guys to love this because we're gonna talk about sports, so you guys don't have to follow every fucking game, every team if you don't want to. We'll give you all the information on most of the teams most of the time, and yeah. Peace, love, and rock and roll, everybody. Have a great day and show some love to my lovely human friend right here. Here's the raid message, guys. The Rocks raid is coming in. Fuck, I didn't even pick a new raid message.